microphone that Lucas Gabriel will be using. And as always, please stand as we begin with prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come together as a community to celebrate our extended family, our students, our parents, our faculty, our friends, and above all, our alumni. And we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Thank you. The Gabriel family was, and still is, an important part of the St. Thomas Aquinas family. Four of the Gabriel children went through school here. Nicolina, Joe, Luke, and Billy. And three of the four of them were winners of the St. Thomas Aquinas Award, which is the highest award we give at graduation. But more importantly, I own the house that his father grew up in here in Dover. And so with that, I'd like to introduce a fine young man who was doesn't really quite volunteer his time, but he has a full-time job, and he wants to give back to St. Thomas Aquinas by being a substitute teacher whenever he can. And with that, I'd like to introduce Lucas Gabriel.
How's everyone doing? So yeah, I'm Lucas Gabriel. I have a full-time job, but I have a lot of time off, so I come here and spread my wisdom sometimes in the substitute teaching field. Mr. Adams asked me if I wanted to do a talk. I jumped at the opportunity because I love talking to my alma mater here, St. Thomas Aquinas. So Tom talk. So the prompt I got was, what drives you, right? Which is very vague. It's a very vague prompt. But I thought about it, and really I think it comes down to one person who really drives me. Someone who's always there for me. Someone who I can trust, rely on. And it is my significant other. She is my favorite. Here she is. She looks great. Her name is Dolores. Yeah, here she is, Dolores, which is obviously named after the original Dolores, Dolores Van Cartier. Sister Act. Come see me after this, and I'll know not to be friends with you because this is the greatest movie in the world. But in all seriousness, this talk is going to focus on what really drives me, and that's relationships. And I have here the three-legged stool model because the three-legged stool has the fundamental principle of having three legs. Each leg is the same size. Each leg bears the same weight. Each one has its importance. If you only have two out of the three, you can't sit on a stool. So you need all three. And so here are my three legs when it comes to relationships. My relationship with God, my soul, and others. And the first one we're going to talk about is my relationship with God. I was always a part of a very big Catholic family. So Catholicism was always in my blood. And I was always wanted to know about it. So they said to put a baby picture. So here you go. Actually, this isn't me. This is Google baby reading a book. So pretend it's me, and I know how to read at 2 years old. But I did come from a Catholic family, and I like to call it my Bing Crosby Catholic family. If you don't know who Bing Crosby is, it's kind of an old reference, but he was an actor, he was a singer, and he was very Catholic. He played a lot of Catholic roles. So my family here, I like to think of it as the Bing Crosby Catholic family. What does that mean? That means we went to church on Sunday, every Sunday, for as long as I can remember. That's what you did on Sunday. There was nothing else. You didn't break leaves, you went to church. And then my mom made breakfast afterwards. It was awesome. It's the greatest ever. But I love my family, because my family were the first people to introduce me to Catholicism, and from there I learned a lot. I did all the CCD, and all that. And then I came to the great place of, oh wait, now this is us. I like this photo. So we're pretty put together, but at the end of the day, we look like this. So then I came to STA, right? And here's me holding the cross. Here's me young. Look at these muscles here. So I came to STA, and that's when I actually got educated on Catholicism. I took my theology classes. I learned more about religion in these 4 years than I did the first 15 years of my life. Which was awesome, because it's a pretty cool subject. Even if people say they're not religious, they're religious. They're just religious in their own way. So I kind of got my foundations here. I joined the campus ministry team. I went on retreats. I talked about my story, about my Catholic story. Led retreats. Did the Tuesday pancake breakfast. It was awesome. I loved it. And so it really built a foundation for me. And I really got closer to God, in my opinion, because I would spend more and more time with Him, learning and all that. This was a senior prank, by the way. We'll talk about that as well. But then I had the opportunity to go to college, so I went to college. And college was an interesting thing because what they say is now it's your choice. Now Mom's not dragging you to church. And for the first time in my life, I had to make a conscious choice of whether I wanted to keep with my religion and all that. And I chose to. I chose to wake up at 8 on a Sunday after a long Saturday and go to church. And then I joined I went to Wake Forest University, so we called it the Wake Forest Catholic Community, WFCC. I became a leader for 4 years on that. I led small talks, I led large talks, but the foundation from my family, compounded by the STA rigor in terms of theology education, brought me to this point, and I found more value out of this than I ever thought I would. It was a group of people, great individuals, all Catholics, gotta love it. And we could grow together, which was what I liked, and it was something to lean on when I needed to. And till this day, I keep in contact with most of these individuals here, and I still go to church. I live by myself. No one's dragging me to church. I'll go to church. I'll do the Ash Wednesday. I'll do all that. Because it feels good. For me, it feels great. And it's that relationship with God that, continuing to strengthen that I have in the past and forever in the future. So that's the first one. Now, your soul. So I picked your soul. I could have said relationship with yourself, but I picked soul for one reason. Is because I got a lot of wisdom here at St. Thomas, especially this question, although it's a question, had more wisdom than I ever thought. There used to be a teacher here who left this earth too early, but he used to begin every class by saying, how is your soul? How is your soul doing today? Not how you doing, not, hey, what's up? It was, how is your soul? And I thought that was very strange. Why would he say soul? Kind of random. But it really got me thinking in my 4 years in high school, what is your soul? What is the person who you are, fundamentally? I always thought about it as a puzzle piece. You have a full puzzle, and there's an empty piece, and you have the last piece, and you kind of look at it, and you look the hole, and you look at it, and you're like, I think this fits. I think this will fit in place. But you don't know yet. You just think about it. And that's my thought. How is your soul? How is my soul? What makes me me more than anyone else or anybody else? And it's that puzzle piece. Like how can I fit the rest of this puzzle piece? So I graduated high school and I went to Wake Forest down in North Carolina, and there was a activities fair, and they had clubs. And I said, what do I want to join in this club? What makes me me? And in high school, I was always a big dancer. I used to come semi-formal, prom, freshman. I'm talking circles, I'm talking, Yeah, it was, I mean, circles, like half the gym was circles. It was pretty crazy. So I said, I'm gonna do some dancing, right? So I went to college, and college had opportunities for dance. And for the first time in my life, I learned, that was pretty good. Pretty good dancer. And I got to meet people who could dance and do all that. And for the first time, it was like that puzzle piece got a little bit closer to that hole in the puzzle. Look at this. Come on. Stop, drop, and roll sometimes, but I love hip-hop dancing, so I joined the hip-hop crew. And we used to do performances on campus. We used to travel. We used to do performances with other schools, and there'd be competitions and all that. And I thought I knew what I was doing, but then I met individuals who actually do this all the time, and I realized I don't really know what I'm doing. And I learned from this crew. I learned, one, how to be on a team that's not a basketball team. I learned how to be artistic, to be a performer. It was the first time in my life I was on a stage. Basketball court's not a stage. This is a stage, and the pressure is, in my opinion, so different. So I learned a lot, and I enjoyed myself. I felt more like me than I ever was. And I learned a lot, and then eventually, as a little freshman, look at this guy. As a little freshman, eventually, I led this dance crew. And I brought us to different places than we were 4 years ago. I brought us to different competitions. I showed us different styles. I had people come in who could put on a master class better than a 20-year-old kid who's just making it up in his dorm room. And I found that dancing was who I wanted to be. And of course, I wanted to broaden my horizons, so I learned how to tap dance. So then I became a tap dancer, and I joined a club that was a tap dancing club. And we did the same thing as this crew, except now we had tap dancers. And I learned from scratch. I never tapped in my life. But someone gave me that opportunity, and I grew into that spot. And I still tap dance all the time. I have boards in the back of my car with my shoes. And a little basket, and there's a sign that says, "Don't be afraid of the bucket. Please give." A little supplementary income. So I do that every now and then. If you catch me in downtown Dover, it's a rare sight, but I'll do that. But I wanted to do more. I got this itch. I did the hip hop, I did the tap dancing, and of course word gets out. So what do? I get a dance faculty coming up to me saying, "Hey, we need male dancers. We have 2 and we have 80 girls. So we need more guys." And I said, "Okay, I'll try it out." So I got enrolled into classes, and I started to do jazz, which I never really got. Modern, which was really stop, drop, and roll. That's just all over the ground. I even had to take ballet, and I actually took ballet to a point where I got to do this. And I actually got to perform in a ballet. This vest I did not get to keep, but I didn't like that. And this is a pirate shirt, so it was all around a good look. So I learned how to do a ballet. I had to buy ballet shoes. That was a weird purchase on my end. I did a ballet, and I'd never done a ballet before. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, is to learn how to do that. It's so finite, and you don't realize good things, good ballet from bad ballet until you're in it, and you're like, "Well, that's bad. Well, that's pretty good." So I finally found, more of me than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to come in, I was going to do the hip hop thing, but then I expanded my horizons, and it was amazing. I felt more like me, and this is me. This was at the end of it. Not really at the end of it, because I'm still here, but I felt something, and it was the spirit of me. It was the essence of me. It was the puzzle piece put into place. And you look back, and it was like, this is it. This is who I am. And it didn't stay in the studios, the dance studios. It went out. It branched. And my conversations were different because I felt the freedom of just being me, of just not having to think about anything, but just being. And that feeling is something I hope everyone finds, because it's just the greatest thing of all time. Where you have no worries, you can just be you and you just live. People are okay with it. Yeah, so I always like this picture, so I even when I'm dancing, I like to have it. The last one is others. Now, this one is a very broad topic. Others, relationship with others. What does that mean? I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I want a large coffee. Yeah, we have a relationship now. We're best friends. You do the coffee, I drink the coffee, and come back the next day. But the others, I wanted to focus on a couple things. The first one was mentorship. So this was this guy here was a senior when I was a freshman at Wake Forest. And as a freshman, your backpack's always too big. You never know where you're going, and you're running to class because you think you need to. And this guy was a senior, and I said, "Hey, I want to tap dance." And he said, "I'm a professional tap dancer." And I said, "Okay, let's do it." And he took me in, not as just a tap dance teacher, but as a mentor. Through him, I learned more in my 1 year about people than I think the last 3 years, because he would do things differently that I never thought possible. If you're with somebody, he'd always say, "Hey, this is I was meeting the head of the school," because he knew the head of the school. And I would be right next to him, and he would say, "Hey, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, this is my friend Luke." And I was like, "Hey, you didn't have to introduce me." And he said, I don't want people to feel uncomfortable. I don't want people to think that I'm better than them. Everyone is here. And he taught me that kind of like baseline where everyone should be, and how to act, and how to talk to professionals, how to be professional. Because he did it. He went on from college, and he became, he had to go into law school right after college. So he used to have an afro. He used to be this big. He did. And he cut it off. He's like, "I gotta get a job." So I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." But yeah, we formed a bond that I didn't think I was going to make with an upperclassman at the time. And to this day, he lives in New York. He's a professional tap dancer. You can see his videos online, Gerson Lanza. And he taps with Chloe and Maud Arnold. I don't know if anyone knows who they are in the tap world, but they're pretty much the most famous tap people. And he tapped with them. He's toured Europe and all that stuff. But he taught me how to respect somebody who's above me, how to learn without necessarily being in their face, just by being with them, just by listening to them, by heeding their advice. Because he's been through it all, and I hadn't at that point, and he really showed me how you can give without giving, almost. If that makes sense, even though it doesn't make much sense. But you can give without wanting to give. And there's actually a quote that I always like that is, the most influential, this is not going to be perfect, so. The most influential people in my life often don't know they're doing it. They're just influential, and they're not in influential places. They're just themselves. So I want to give a shout out to him, because he actually taught me more about how I should act towards others. The next is brotherhood. These are my boys right here, right? He's wearing a tux. I don't know why. There's no reason to wear a tux. He's wearing jeans, blazer, suit, and a suit. Why are we not dressed the same? How do we get to this point where we're dressing differently? But I don't know. But I love this photo because it really puts the essence of who we are. These are my best friends. We call ourselves the Hunger Squad because we like food, so we go out and get food. And these guys taught me loyalty. These were my brothers. I have two brothers, but these were my brothers who weren't related to me. And we all came from different parts of the country: Wisconsin, North Carolina, New York, California. But we came together because we had the same vibe. We gelled together. We had the same morals. We had the same wants in life. I shouldn't say drive, but The drive, I'll use drive. So the drive was the same for each of us. We wanted to be better the next day than we were the day before. Whether that be academically, socially, I don't know, your capability to hop around, I don't know. But anyway, just being better the next day. And we stay in contact all the time. I'll probably talk to one of these guys for an hour every week over the phone because we don't live near each other. But and now he lives in North Carolina. He's in Chicago, New York, Hawaii, and we still stay in contact. We try to stay in contact. I know about their lives, they know about mine. And I didn't think I was going to make friendship like this, but I did. And part of that was because I kept building on the legs of my stool, right? We go back to the stool. I had God, and what God did was He made me available to be me, and then I became me in college, and then from there I learned that I could just be me with people who love me for who I am, and then that's reciprocated, obviously, by me, and they mean a lot to me because they've been there for me my best times, and they're there for me my worst times. They didn't have to be. These were strangers 6 years ago. And now they're like my closest friends. I can talk to them all the time. And I hope you guys can find a group of individuals like that, or individual like that, because it helps. It really makes a difference. The next piece, right, you got mentorship, you got brotherhood. Then it really comes down to family, friends, your community, people you've grown up with your whole lives. Oh wait, not these guys. But this is the family, right? We call this the family. This is me. This guy's name is Legan Lim. This is Jamila Terrell. 3 individuals, completely different backgrounds, completely different majors, but we became best friends, and so we call each other the family. We could sit down and just sit at a table like family. We'd have home-cooked meals. Each one would take turns, and we would just be. There was no drama. You know how nice it is when there's no drama? Oh my gosh, that is just the best. This was the no drama, right? This was the no drama group, and that's why we call each other the family. And as close as these guys, I am with these guys, although it's a repeat, there it is, second time. We're still close, and no matter how far along we stay apart or we don't be in contact, when we get together, it's like right back, and it's kind of, that's why we call each other the family, because it was just a bond that I didn't know I could ever make. From 3 completely different people, completely different backgrounds, completely different parts of the country, the world. And that, it's almost like a safety. In need, you can go to people like this because they're with you. They know you, and they make you feel good when you need to feel good. The next one's a shout out to Miss Cummings. Family friend forever. This was a wedding a couple of weeks ago. A wedding that I actually got to officiate. I had a book, I had the words, and I actually married a mutual friend of ours, who is now wife. And I love giving back to my friendship, so when he asked me if I wanted to officiate his wedding, I was just like, that's amazing. It's the biggest honor ever. One of the biggest moments of his life. And I got to be the one to actually sign the papers and the stamp and everything. So yeah, I told Miss Cummings I give her a shout out, so here she is. These are my brothers. I know I'm the best looking, so. And those are the legs to my stool. And at the end of the day, I know I can always go home, and I can always sit down and just relax, lean on those pillars of my life, those anchors that hold me in place. And that's kind of what my drive is, my focus in life is. Last bit, if you saw me around, I usually don't have any facial hair, but it's no shave November. What does that mean? That means you can look like this with the stash. Be okay with it. Right? And so, but where does the men's help? Men have bad health. We die way too young. So, look at the stash. I got laughed at.